The Frisco Flash. Birth name was Cecil Lewis Thompson, and his fighting name was Young Jack Thompson. He was born August 17, 1904, Los Angeles, California. He died April 11, 1946. He was 41 years of age at the time of his death, and he would reside in Los Angeles, California. Now, he stood 5 foot 8 inches, and he weighed 135 to 151 pounds. He had a fighting career record of 80 wins, 49 knockouts, 31 losses, and he was stopped 3 times. He became welterweight champion May 9, 1930 in Detroit, Michigan, with a 15-round victory over Chicago, Illinois, 5 foot 7.5 inches, 135 pounds, Jacob Finkelstein. His name was Jackie Fields. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, and I would like to discuss Young Jack Thompson's career with you, right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Now, to your left, you have Jackie Fields, and to your right is Young Jack Thompson. And Young Jack Thompson would begin his professional career November 20th, 1922, with a second-round knockout over Bud Kelly. This fight took place in San Francisco, California. Now, I mentioned to you that Young Jack Thompson would defeat Jackie Fields for the welterweight championship strap. And Jackie Fields was some fighter. I know this because I spoke with Jimmy McLaurin. And Jimmy McLaurin, who I spoke to several times, told me about Jackie Fields. He told me about Young Jack Thompson. He told me about young Corbett III, and Barney Ross, and Fidel LaBarber, and many others. But he mentioned to me how difficult of a fighter Jackie Fields was to fight. Although he was an orthodox fighter, but he was very unorthodox. And for Young Jack Thompson to get that victory, he had to be a very good fighter. And Jimmy McLaurin knew that personally because he himself faced Young Jack Thompson. Although controversial decision, that McLaurin would get the victory. And I spoke to Jimmy McLaurin about that, had several conversations with him. And he told me that Young Jack Thompson was basically a complete fighter. He was a master boxer. And he did very, very different things with the jab. Special things. He would up jab, hook off the jab. He would feint with the jab. He would do what is called the 45L22. And that's basically a half uppercut, half hook. And then you would take your forearm and you would shove it either into the neck or the chest of your opponent, or even sneak an elbow in. Fritzy Zivic was a master at that. Ray Robinson was a master at that. Henry Armstrong was also a master of that. But Young Jack Thompson had the skill. Beautiful jab, outstanding right hand. He had very, very good foot movement. He would rotate his head from side to side. Somewhat of a young Ray Robinson. And I asked Jimmy McLaurin because I understood it was a controversial decision. And he acknowledged to me that it was. And I said, well, Jimmy McLaurin, what do you think? And he said, well, the only thing I can tell you, my hand was raised. And for that, I accept. Now, he was a very stand-up guy. Like I said, I knew him very well. Spoke to him several times that I did Jimmy McLaurin. And he was just being honest. Referee raised his hand, so he accepted. And I took that as Young Jack Thompson pretty much got the edge on that fight. But Young Jack Thompson would also be in the ring with a fighter such as King Tut. Now, King Tut's name was Henry Roland Tuttle. He was born July 2nd, 1904. In Winnie Moon, Wisconsin. He died November 14th, 1988. He was a lightweight that stood 5 foot 5 inches, and he had a fighting career record of 106 total bouts, 77 wins, 50 knockouts, 25 losses, and he was stopped 7 times. He was in a ring with fighters such as Bernie Franklin, Billy Patrol, the Fargo Express, fought him several times, battling Dozer, another good fighter, Bucky Lawless, hard-punching Chicago lightweight, Ray Miller, Dick Hope, Sefrino Garcia, Garcia was a middleweight champion. Todd Morgan, he wound up becoming a junior lightweight champion. That's just an example of some of the fighters that King Tut was in the ring with. And young Jack Thompson would be in the ring with King Tut. Now I would like to show you some other fighters, but I'm not going to go through the process of going through all the scrapbooks to get the opponents of young Jack Thompson. So I'm just going to tell you some of the opponents he fought. He fought Billy Wells. Billy Wells fought Doc Snell and Alvin Lewis and Tommy Murphy. They called him Harlem Tommy Murphy. Martin Lee and Davy Jones. He was also in the ring with Johnny Adams and Jimmy Duffy, Kid Brown, Sam Bruce. Now, Sam Bruce was born March 5th, 1906, Memphis, Tennessee. He fought out of Buffalo, New York. He was a welterweight. He was in the ring with Canada Lee and Gorilla Jones. Fought him 3 times. Bucky Lawless and Tommy Freeman. Tommy Freeman wound up becoming a welterweight champion. He had 91 total bouts, 51 wins, 15 knockouts. He lost 31 fights. But Sam Bruce was a very good fighter. My father met him. He was a trainer at that time. And he used to talk to my dad all the time. I have all these fighters' profiles. But for me to dig through all the scrapbooks that I have to show you all the fighters, I need to get more thumbs up and a little bit more appreciation just to give me an idea that you really want to see this, because I don't scan photos. Everything you see is straight out of the scrapbooks. It's a process to make that happen. But young Jack Thompson was a phenomenal fighter. Monday, February 13th, 1928, he would lose a 10-round decision in San Francisco, California, to young Corbett III. And he was a decent southpaw with a pretty accurate left hand. Very good puncher. And he would fight him out of State Army. And the referee was Bobby Johnson. He would raise the hand of young Corbett III. Thursday, August 30th, 1928, young Jack Thompson scored an impressive KO in the second round. Unbelievable. June 3rd, 1929, welterweight champion, Joe Dundee. Now, Joe Dundee was another very good fighter. He would fight and defeat a fighter by the name of Pete Latzo. And Pete Latzo would exchange welterweight championship belt with the toy bulldog, Mickey Walker. Joe Dundee was a phenomenal fighter himself. In young Jack Thompson's hometown, Chicago, Illinois, Comiskey Park, referee was Eddie Perkins. He weighs off the contest. And Joe Dundee could not respond to the count. He would be knocked out. And young Jack Thompson would be the victor. That was a very impressive victory for young Jack Thompson. On October 1st, 1928, young Jack would face Jackie Fields in San Francisco, California. He would lose a controversial 10-round decision. And he fought the remainder of 1928 through 1929 with 7-fight winning streak until Monday, March 25th. And he would face Jackie Fields in Chicago, Illinois at the Coliseum. And he would lose 10 rounds in the NBA welterweight championship strap. Now, July 4th, 1930, he would once again lose to Cleveland, Ohio's Tommy Freeman, 15-round decision for the welterweight championship strap. In 1931, he fought him twice, and he would earn 2 KOs. Now, Tuesday, April 14th, he would get a win in Cleveland, Ohio, 12-round victory knockout for the NBA welterweight championship strap over Tommy Freeman and become once again a welterweight champion. Now, after July 23rd, 1931, Boston, Massachusetts. He would lose 10 rounds. Young Jack Thompson comes close enough to French-Canadian Hugh Bullard, but he didn't get the victory. Now, the issue with young Jack Thompson, a lot of his losses were controversial. That's in the books. And unfortunately, that's just the way it was at that time. And black fighters would always get controversial losses. And you had some great fighters at that time. But unfortunately, that's just the way it was at that time. And I can only imagine how many fights he would have won had it been fair. He then faced September 5th, Tommy Jones. Fought him in Flint, Michigan. And he scores a 5th round knockout. Then again, October 6, 1931, in Flint, Michigan. Fights him again. And he scores a 3rd round knockout. I'm going to show you Tommy Jones. Tommy Jones, very good fighter. But he will lose to young Jack Thompson. Young Jack Thompson was a phenomenal fighter. Just wanted to show you Tommy Jones. I did pull out one scrap to show you this. I just want to give you a perspective on young Jack Thompson. He was a phenomenal fighter. He was a 2-time welterweight champion of the world. In order for you to become a champion and claim to be one, you must have 5 criteria in life. Now, the 4 criteria that are mandatory in order for you to even defend your title. You must have leadership, principles, work ethics, and self-esteem. Those are the 4 dimensions and criteria that you have to even to walk the earth. But to become a fighter and for what it stands for, those are the 4. But to be a champion, in its highest regard, you have to have 1/5 and final dimension. You must have spirituality. You have to believe in something higher than you. Because there's going to become a time when you're in that ring, when there's nothing in the textbook. There's nothing a trainer can possibly teach you. It comes from within. And the job of another fighter who is facing you is to convince you that he is more superior. To convince you of everything that you taught and believed in is false. You see, fighters are the biggest liars. They have to be in order to be one. But if you don't have that final dimension, which is spirituality, to go into a place that you yourself don't trust, you have to trust in that 5th dimension, and that spirituality. Because he'll get you to believe in himself before you believe in yourself. And that's what the 5th dimension must come in. You got to believe in a higher being than you and your opponent. That's just a message from Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Salute to young Jack Thompson, dynamite fighter. Unfortunately, he didn't get victories that he actually earned. But it's nothing new in the game of boxing. It's a sweet science. One of the greatest sports out there because it brings out who you really are. Can't hide behind who you are. And boxing will see to that. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Thanks for your time. Salute.